I can't quite believe that. That is impressive. Over the past few years, the 3D printing industry has been pretty stagnant, with minor differences between machines and very little innovation. However, now one company has come along with something that's so much better than everything else, it's shocked the rest of the industry into action in a desperate bid to keep up or be rendered obsolete. What we're about to witness is the biggest overhaul that home 3D printing has ever seen. What will this new 3D printing world order look like, and what will it mean for you? Let's find out. Let's face it, 3D printing manufacturers are not the most dynamic of companies. There are a lot of very similar machines which, let's face it, all pretty much do the same job. There are some innovators, but as soon as someone develops a new gizmo, you can bet that it's going to appear on their competitors' machines within a couple of months. As customers, we find ourselves with a huge range of machines to choose from, but very little to differentiate between them all. For years now, we've had bed slingers with 8 or 32-bit mainboards that can technically all print around 100mm per second if you believe your slicer settings, but are much better printing at around 60mm per second. In reality though, they very rarely reach these top speeds as they're limited by their acceleration controls. However, we've all got used to these speeds and having to wait days sometimes for any larger prints to complete. All that is about to change. You see, towards the end of 2022, without all that much noise, a Kickstarter was launched for a couple of new machines from a brand new company called Bambu Lab. Bambu Lab describe themselves as 3D printing fans who are also expert engineers in robotics, artificial intelligence, materials science, and internet industries. Their flagship 3D printer, the X1 Carbon, boasts top speeds of 500mm per second, but more importantly, it has acceleration figures of 20,000mm per second squared. This blows the mass-produced bed slingers out of the water and genuinely means that you can reduce your print times by around 75%. As with most of the manufacturer innovations in 3D printing, many of the features that allow the X1 Carbon to print so fast have actually appeared individually on home-built machines like the Voron models. But nobody had put them all together and achieved such a jump in performance in a consumer-ready 3D printer until the X1. The main reasons why these supersonic speeds are now possible is more processing power, lightweight parts, and powerful heaters. I won't go through all the specs of the Bambu Lab machines because they're easy to find online, but what is important is that genuinely fast printing is now possible at a reasonable price. If the $1,200 asking price of the X1 Carbon is too steep, then its baby brother, the P1P, has very similar capabilities for $500 less. You just don't get all of the bells and whistles of the X1. So what has this bombshell done to the range of 3D printers we now have available? Well, depending when you watch this, not that much just yet. You see, the Bambu Lab machines were so new and advanced, it's taken until now for other manufacturers to catch up to try and stop Bambu Labs from gobbling up the entire market. However, trust me when I say that the tidal wave is about to hit. Bambu Lab took 2 years to develop their new models, but everyone else is trying to do it in only 6 months. Don't be surprised if you see virtually every 3D printing manufacturer release their own Bambu Lab clone over the next few months. Some of them are already here. Chidi have 3 new models, one of which I've already been putting through its paces. Unfortunately, the rush to release these models may have caused a few hiccups, and the other 2 models have actually been put on hold while they fix some issues. One of the most hyped new models is Creality's K1. These will be heading out to customers who've placed pre-orders very soon, and some of the reviews are already out. Prusa, of course, have their XL model, and there are many more to come. Whilst we don't have all of the specifications of every new model just yet, there will be some common features that they'll all share. CoreXY will be the new standard. Whilst bed slingers like the Ender 3 and its clones have been the most prolific style of 3D printer over the last few years, CoreXY is about to have its day. A CoreXY printer has a bed that instead of moving forward and back, it moves up and down. Instead of the bed moving for the Y-axis, the print head does. To do this, the machines still use belts to transfer the movements from the stepper motors to the print head, but instead of V-slots and pulleys, you're much more likely to find linear rails. These help with precise movements, but it also means that very little to no adjustments are needed. What all this basically means is that the print head can move around faster. Some manufacturers will even take things to extremes by switching out these linear rails with ground carbon fibre rods, which personally I think may be a step too far. Carbon fibre is very strong, but it's not that great at resisting wear. Only time will tell, but I think there could be some very wobbly machines in around 6 months' time. In the short term though, the weight saving gives more control. There are other benefits to the CoreXY setup too. The frame that's needed to hold everything in position can also give some good support and stop everything getting wobbly when the print head starts whizzing around. Also, the nice cube shape makes it much easier to enclose everything too. This means that tricky filaments that need a stable environment become much easier to print without warping. Another benefit of this cube shape is that CoreXY printers are easier to ship. Bed slingers wouldn't survive the rigours of being shipped around the world fully assembled, so there's always some sort of assembly you need to do before you start using one. Not so with the CoreXY. The nice sturdy frame around all the delicate bits means that manufacturers can assemble and test their machines and then pack them into boxes with very little changes. In theory, this means that the machine that you receive is as the manufacturer intended, and there'll be far less for you to do before hitting print. Setting up this Chidi X Smart 3 was simply a case of running through a setup wizard, which included Input Shaper and hitting print. Another major benefit of this next generation of 3D printer could be that manual bed leveling is a thing of the past. Most, if not all of these machines will come with some sort of bed probe and will rely much more on taking a mesh of the bed rather than you manually adjusting things with bed screws. This of course is going to be a huge benefit to newcomers. Can you imagine that soon tramming or leveling your bed will just be a distant memory? For me, the CoreXY setup has a lot of benefits. However, this more beneficial mechanical setup won't be of much use unless the control systems can also up their game. 32-bit mainboards and Marlin firmware have been okay, but they're not really capable of controlled 500mm per second print speed. To achieve these fast speeds in a controlled way, these turbocharged 3D printers are going to have to employ some more processing power. We'll probably see at least 64-bit mainboards from now on, and Marlin firmware could be a thing of the past. What most of these machines will use for firmware instead is Klipper. Klipper is open source firmware that's been around for some time, but up until now you've always needed a separate board like a Raspberry Pi to piggyback onto your 3D printer's control board. You also had to install your own operating system plus some Linux programs to get everything working, which is beyond many of us. Most manufacturers will now get rid of these additional boards and everything will come with Klipper installed, ready to rock. The Bambu Lab machines don't use Klipper firmware, instead they use their own special blend. Only time will tell if this is a benefit or a negative for their customers. The other thing you're going to need to be able to print fast is the ability to heat up filament and then cool that same filament down quickly. Faster print speeds means that there's a higher volume of filament that has to pass through your nozzle, but then there's also more filament that needs cooling on your print. For heating, we'll see things like more powerful ceramic heaters, and cooling will be a case of more powerful or better positioned fans. Wi-Fi connection should be available on everything, and it should be a simple case of just plugging in a USB camera for easy remote monitoring without something like the very handy Beagle camera. There are some other great innovations on the Bambu Lab machines that we probably won't see crop up on every other clone, like LiDAR bed scanning and multi-material switching, but in time these could become the norm too. It's not all great news though. To be able to push things to the next level in terms of speed, there will be some downsides. Hot ends like the E3D V6 and the Mark 8 won't be able to keep up with the filament throughput needed. Instead, expect to see each manufacturer develop their own proprietary hot end heat block and nozzles. Unfortunately, this means that picking up cheap spares on Amazon isn't going to be quite so easy. So, will we have to pay more for this big upgrade in 3D printer capabilities? No, not really. Because manufacturers are all competing with each other to grab a slice of this next generation market, they're being highly competitive on price. Yes, the Bambu X1 is over $1,000, but Creality's new K1 is only $600. The X Smart 3 is also $600, but is currently discounted down to only $450. Compare that to some of the Marlin bed slingers that are way slower, and these Klipper machines seem very reasonable, especially if you're looking to make money out of your 3D printer. We all know that time is money, and being able to print something in a quarter of the time is just good business sense. A print farm full of enclosed Klipper-based machines will make a 3D printing business more profitable than ever before. There will be some compromises on print volume though. Some of the bed slingers that have appeared over the last few years have been offering print volumes up to 300 by 300 by 400. The X1 is 256mm cubed, Creality's K1 is 220 by 220 by 250, and this Chidi machine is 185 by 185 by 170. There will of course be larger volume machines in times, and increasing the scale of a CoreXY machine has less weight penalties than it does on a bed slinger. An area where I think we will see quite a lot of variation between models is in the screens we use to control our printers. If you're used to Marlin firmware, then the way that we control a Klipper printer may seem a little strange at first. Klipper is very powerful, but accessing most of its features is best done through a web UI on a separate computer. There are a couple of different interface options, but they're very similar and basically do the same things. Therefore, once you get used to the web UI, you won't really find yourself using the printer's screen all that much. Generally, I have all of my Klipper machines set up so I can send a print file directly from my slicer to the correct machine. If it's ready to go, then I can start the print there and then. Or if I need to remove a print or change some filament, I can then just start the print from an app on my phone. I rarely need to actually touch the printer's screen other than to maybe preheat a nozzle to do a filament change. So what some manufacturers may choose to do is save money on a lavish screen, knowing that users probably won't use it that much. Others are going to offer glossy touchscreens to make you think that they're going to add something to your printing experience, and depending on your preference, they might. So are the days of modifying 3D printers over? Nope, not at all. These machines may look more polished and much more like household consumer items, but there's still massive potential for modification. Many of the manufacturers are actually quite new to Klipper, and there are a whole host of features that they're not using at all. With a little bit of research, it's actually quite easy to add a lot of them in yourself at a later date. So now we know what's coming and what to expect from this next generation of machines. What do you need to look out for if you actually want to buy one? Well, first of all, I'd say don't rush into a purchase. If you don't need a new 3D printer right now, then maybe wait till some of the early adopters have found some of the problems and give manufacturers or people in the community a chance to fix them. Forcing 2 years worth of development into 6 months is bound to produce some unexpected bugs, and 3D printing manufacturers don't have the best reputation for product testing. When you do decide to pull the trigger on a new purchase, here are some key factors to pay attention to, in my opinion. Firstly, as with any 3D printer purchase, think about the size of things that you want to print. With a CoreXY printer, you're not going to be upgrading the build volume, so make sure you get what you need at the beginning. Every manufacturer will list their build volumes, so it's simply a case of just comparing the figures and making sure you get what you need. After this, I'd think about firmware. Klipper is open source and actually pretty intuitive once you start playing around with it, so it's a good option in my opinion. If a manufacturer doesn't tell you what firmware they're running, then it probably means they've either developed their own like Bambu Lab, or they've heavily modified something else. This could potentially give you some headaches down the road if you have any problems and the manufacturer isn't particularly interested in fixing them. Manufacturers are very likely to be quoting their top speeds as they look very impressive next to Marlin figures. The truth is that more telling figures are going to be acceleration and volumetric flow rate. Just like comparing a Formula 1 car to a supercar that both have top speeds of over 200 miles an hour, the acceleration and deceleration of a Formula 1 car, in part due to its lighter weight, means that it will get around a racetrack in half the time. Also, any stepper motor can spin fast to move the print head quickly, but if the extruder can't heat the material quick enough and push it out onto the print in a controlled way, then the speed is wasted. The current benchmarks for acceleration are 20,000 millimeters per second squared from the X1 Carbon and other similar machines, and it's what I would want to see. When it comes to volumetric flow rate, manufacturers are quoting around 30 to 32 millimeters cubed per second, which is around double what an Ender 3 would do. The next important factor is going to be part cooling. The beauty of the CoreXY setup when it comes to cooling is that the nozzle is always at the same height compared to the machine frame. This means that some manufacturers are adding cooling fans not only to the hot ends, but also to the frame of the machine to blow air across the whole plane that the nozzle moves through. It'll be interesting to see if any manufacturer takes advantage of some of the more diverse cooling options like bird air or remote CPAP units. But for now, it seems that centrifugal fans fitted to the hot end are what we're getting. Once you've narrowed down your selection using these factors, there are a few more things to bear in mind. Some manufacturers are trying to take full advantage of the enclosed print area to provide additional heat to the bed and nozzle to heat the air inside the enclosure. This should make printing with some of the more challenging materials like ABS or polycarbonates a bit easier, but there may be some other downsides to look out for. For instance, 2 of the 3 new Chidi models have stopped shipping because of some kind of issue. The rumour is that the additional heat caused by their heated enclosures is causing the bed to warp, which is why this model isn't effective. It doesn't have a heated enclosure. Also, don't think that the Bambu Lab machines are immune to this kind of thing. There have been reports of warped beds on the X1 Carbon, but unlike clipper machines, it's not that easy to diagnose because they don't actually give you access to the output of a bed mesh. It's not that manufacturers aren't paying attention in these areas, it's just that they're quite challenging problems to overcome. As I've already said, I think that carbon linear rails is a step too far in weight saving, and only time will tell how soon they wear out. Unfortunately, it's a case of when, not if. So as you can see, there are going to be some big changes to the selection of 3D printers that you can buy over the next few months. Hopefully now though, you'll be better prepared for what lies ahead. Don't forget to hit like if you learned anything in this video, and hit subscribe if you want to see me give 100% honest reviews of these new machines as they're released. I'll also try and keep a list of new models that I think deserve your attention in the description below with some basic specs, so keep an eye out there as new models are announced. If you want to check out one of my 3D printing reviews, then click one of these videos here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.